stuff to see. We do have a bar on the second deck, so feel free to visit there at any time throughout the trip if you need anything. We'll also have a few crew roaming around the boat here and there, taking quarters and things like that. So if you're comfortable where you're at, would rather stay seated up here on the third deck especially, and want something for the bar, just flag them down. They'd be happy to help you out. Before we go, we do have a pre-recorded safety announcement that we need to play. So I'm going to ask that you give that your full attention. Otherwise, we can do anything else.
Our slip here at Pier 54. I'm going to be sounding the ship's horn to signal to other vessels in the area that we are leaving. If you have sensitive ears or little ones around you, or especially if you're out on the bow, I'd recommend covering your ears in 3, 2, 1. With that, we are off. Once again, welcome aboard, everybody. My name is Hannah. I'm going to be your tour guide for the next hours and make our journey around Elliott Bay. One thing about me, though, before we get started, I'm actually not a Seattle native. I'm from the faraway land of Wisconsin. I know we have some fellow Midwesterners in the crowd, some Ohio folks. Besides Ohio, who else we got here today? Shout it out. Illinois, Indiana, Connecticut, whoa, Idaho, Philadelphia, New Mexico. All right, we got a good mix on board. What about international visitors? Romania? Okay. Can't tell what you're saying over there. UK? London, okay. Anywhere else? What about, that's the US. What about some Seattle locals? Oh, Kenya, okay. Sweet, well, thanks for coming all this way, hopping on the boat with us. Seattle locals, anybody? Alright, so no one's checking my facts, it looks like. I can make some stuff up if I want to. Well, anyways, welcome aboard, everybody. For those of you who aren't familiar with boating terms, I'll get you guys familiarized with some directions. For most of our tour, we're going to be looking off the starboard side of the vessel. It's going to be the right-hand side. Good way to remember this is that Seattle is the star of our show, on the starboard side. Also, a whole lot of Starbucks in that direction, not so many in the water over there. The left-hand side is going to be our port side. Both of those words have 4 letters, so if you're in a map like that. The front of the boat is the bow. Good way to remember this is that we bow forward after a good performance. And the back of the boat is the stern. And the way I remember this is thinking back to my grade school days. Maybe my friends and I were goofing off in class. The teacher would send us to the back of the room because they were being stern with us. I'm going to test those directions off on you guys right away. On the starboard side, very good. Those heads turn the right direction. We're passing by the great wheel here. And coming up is our first stop on the tour. Pier 59, this low-lying greenish-bluish building with light trimmed windows. That's the Seattle Aquarium. Now, what's special about this aquarium is it's not like SeaWorld or anything. You're not going to find any dolphins doing choreographed dances or sea lions tossing beach balls. None of that really happens here, but there is one notable trained animal, and that is Mishka the sea otter. She can do one trick, and that's use an inhaler. So Mishka was rescued back in 2015 and is the only known sea otter to develop a case of asthma because she was exposed to the smoke from wildfires that we get here about this time of year over on the peninsula and all around the mountains here. Now Mishka developed kind of a nasty cough, but people at the aquarium were able to help her out with this. They modified a cat inhaler, So she can swim up and press a little button with her nose, gets a little treat, and also a little bit from her inhaler. So she's able to kind of self-medicate that way. She had her 11th birthday a few months ago, so she's doing pretty well, I'd say. Now, a little bit farther up in our skyline here, you'll see some red umbrellas, kind of on a slanted walkway. Maybe between the gap in the buildings as we're passing, you can read the backwards letters, Public Market. That's Pike Place. Has anyone been there yet? Pike Place Market? Heck yeah. Pike Place is a fun stop. It's one of our top tourist attractions here in the city. By no means is it a tourist trap. Locals love to come here and do their shopping. I love to head over this way if I have time after work. There's 5 floors of vendors selling pretty much anything you can imagine. Fish, flowers, meat, postcards, jewelry, candles, anything under the sun. It's a fun place to get lost in. I've done it before. It's also home to the gum wall, which is what it sounds like, a wall covered in gum. That started back in the 70s when theater goers were waiting outside for a show, and to be courteous to the theater employees, they didn't want to stick their gum under their seats, they just stuck it on the wall outside. And that resulted in layers and layers of gum upon each brick. It's been cleaned a few times since the 70s, but you can barely tell. It's pretty grimy looking. It's considered one of the world's grimiest attractions, actually, aside from the Blarney Stone Island. If you've been to either of those places or both, you're probably one of the world's grimiest tourists. So congrats. Now I'm sure you're noticing the massive cruise ship off of our starboard side as well. Is anyone here arriving for a cruise or coming off of one recently? Alright. Were you just there or are you heading up to Alaska? Just there? Did you love it? It was okay. Okay. Well, this is our Bell Street Cruise Terminal. This is where a lot of our cruise ships come to dock, let off passengers, bring on a whole new crew, and they're all heading to and from Alaska, like I mentioned. We're just nearing the end of our Alaskan cruise season. Last minute. You going to Miami? Oh, okay. I'm looking up. We see thousands of people coming through here every year, heading up the Inside Passage. Alaska right now is the prime time to be visiting up there. It's not as welcoming during those cold winter months. It's a little icy and snowy. But what's special about this vessel, in particular, the Norwegian Encore, if you look up top, you'll see kind of a black turf area towards the back of the vessel. It's actually a go-kart track. There's tons to do on the Norwegian cruise lines, but in particular you can go riding on a go-kart. It's one of the few places in the world you can get seasick and carsick at the same time, if you're so inclined. And just off the bow of that vessel, coming up bar 1, 2 o'clock, got a low-lying building pretty close to the water. It's got mustard trim and a big red E on top. It's the Edgewater Hotel. Now the Edgewater was built back in 1962 for the World's Fair. People came from all over the place to hang out, check out all that the fair had to offer. Thousands of people came through here. Can you guess how many folks stayed at the Edgewater in that time? 0 people stayed there because they did not finish building in time. They opened their doors about 2 weeks after the fair ended, so kind of sad for them. And they were like, what are we going to do now? We built the whole hotel. No one's staying in it, how are we getting our money back? So the next step was they decided to advertise it as a place you can fish from your hotel room. Pretty convenient, right? Those windows hanging out over the water. They even had a bait and tackle shop in the lobby. Now, in theory, this is a good idea, but not so much in practice. Because if you think about it, late hours of the night, maybe early morning hours, the best time for fishing. Maybe imagine you're fast asleep in your bed, you've had a long day of touring Seattle, you're having a good night's rest, and a salmon slaps against your window, middle of the night. Not super awesome to wake up to unless you're really into fish, I guess. Secondly, once you get a fish in your room, what are you going to do with it, right? dispose of all the nasty parts. People would hide them under the bed, try to shove it in a corner, hope no one would notice. Housekeeping did notice. They'd even try to keep the fish alive sometimes. They'd put it in the bathtub, fill it with salt, which is not at all how seawater works. Those fish do not survive. So needless to say, housekeeping was not too pleased with this. It did not last too long. But the Edgewater has one last claim to fame. That's the fact that many famous musicians and rock stars have stayed here over the years, including the Beatles in 1964. They featured the cover of Life magazine hanging out their window with their fishing poles. People came from all around to get a glimpse at them. One girl even bribed the laundry service to sneak her in. People would pull up in their boats in the water, looking through the windows. And after they left, the entire room was ransacked. So pretty much none of what is in that room today was the original decor. Even pieces of the carpet were cut up and sold once they had left. But it's still called the Beatles Suite today. Now, as we are passing Pier 70 here, with the red front on it, we're going to be getting our closest, most unobstructed view of the Space Needle during our tour today. It's going to be framed perfectly between these two buildings here. As you come up on it, I'd recommend getting your phones out, getting your cameras, get that up-close picture now. We will see it throughout the tour, but it'll be a little bit farther away, so if you want that close-up view, now's the time. Just below the Space Needle, you'll see kind of a grassy area. You're walking around, there's a big orange sculpture right in the middle of that grass. Can anyone guess what kind of animal the sculpture is depicting? Not an orca. I heard that. It's not normal. Not a dinosaur. That's a closer guess, I guess. Not a dolphin. It's a what? A Loch Ness. That's a new one. But no. It is an eagle taking flight. It's called Big Orange. It's designed by Alexander Calder. That's Olympic Sculpture Park we're looking at. That's one of many sculptures you can find there. It's open to the public. Fun place to mosey on down to after spending a day at Pike Place. One funny fact about that park though is groundskeepers are required to cut the grass with scissors so that things don't get on the sculptures. Now down along the waterline here, you'll see some little pocket beaches, some folks dipping their toes in, riding their lime scooters along the path. This is Myrtle Edwards Park. It's named after Myrtle Edwards. She served in the Seattle City Council for about 14 years, and thanks to her, we have most of our beautiful green spaces here in Seattle. The outdoors and natural beauty is very important to her. So you can thank Myrtle Edwards. The idea is you can walk out your door, head about 10 minutes in any direction, and it'll arrive at some kind of little green space or park. So it's kind of a blessing being in a busy city like downtown Seattle. This place is a great spot for tide pooling. When the water's out, there's all kinds of creatures you can find on the rocks here. Folks from the aquarium will come down and do talks here sometimes. Probably not the best place for swimming though. It's very cold here in the day. There's some brave folks keeping their feet in like I mentioned, but probably not full on swimming. And behind the park, you'll see a big globe with an eagle on top. Our second eagle of the tour. The globe reads, "In the PI." It's the old home of the Seattle Post-Intelligencer. It's our oldest newspaper here in the city. It started back in the 1800s. There's barely anything here but a few sawmills, horses, drawn wagons. But we did have a newspaper. We did go fully online though in 2009, so they're not actually in that building anymore. That's just there to remember them by. They're the first major metropolitan newspaper to do so. So they've been leading the way for quite some time. You'll see up on that hill there, got 3 cell towers. That marks the Queen Anne neighborhood. So back when people were first starting to build homes here in Seattle, that hill was kind of daunting, kind of farther away from the rest of downtown. Not really ideal to start your city on, but people did start building there. They were building homes in kind of a fancier style that was similar to homes built during Queen Anne's reign in England. So people would call it in that area Queen Anne Hill or Queen Anne Town, and the nickname kind of stuck. So we still call it Queen Anne neighborhood today. What this neighborhood is probably better known for are the two famous fictional TV doctors that are said to have had homes here. The first being Dr. Fraser Crane, Commissioner Fraser, but actually none of this was filmed here in Seattle. It was all filmed in a studio in LA, so that is made up. But Dr. Meredith Grey, in Grey's Anatomy, does have a house that you can visit here. Don't be creepy, but don't go beating the windows or anything. People do live there, so you can take a walk by, but be polite about it. But they are used to tourists, of course. There are a lot of other spots around the city featured in the show that you can check out as well, outside of the hospital and the space mill. Down in the water here, you see some floating metal pilings here. Not a whole lot going on here right now, but during the early spring and summer months, this is where coho salmon are raised. The local tribes here, they'll get the fish from hatcheries, cover this whole area with nets, shield it from birds of prey or other bigger fish that might want to eat the young salmon. And once they're raised to full maturity, they are released into the wild. So you can see that happen earlier in June, which is pretty cool. And it's just the end of the salmon migration right now. You might see some splashes around. If you head to the locks up in the valley, you can see the salmon climbing the salmon ladder, making their way home to the fresh water. Large vessel coming up on our starboard side. This is a bulk carrier ship. That means one thing only is loaded into the belly of that ship in mass quantity, and that thing here is grain, cabin grade grain. That might be surprising because we don't grow a whole lot of grain here in Washington. A lot of Midwestern companies will actually ship their grain our way, all the way out to the coast, to be transported across the ocean, because we happen to be a whole day closer by sea travel to our trading partners in Asia than most other ports in the U.S. So it's a lot cheaper, more time efficient, just greener overall to be sending grain to us and then shipping it across the Pacific. There are 68 silos back there, you can see, and at full capacity you can hold 4 million bushels of grain. It's a whole lot of grain. If you don't know what a bushel is, it's what you get your cat or dog food in at the store. Kind of big sack of food. It's all loaded directly into the belly of that vessel. One thing to note is that once it's kind of rainy, wetter outside, it's kind of a tricky process loading those vessels, because if any moisture gets in there, once it arrives on the other side, it will be moldy, unusable. So if there's any rain, precipitation in the air, all operations have to be halted until it's dry again. Now up on this point here, you'll see kind of a funky looking building with green glassy windows. For any of you who traveled here today, you probably used this company that owns this building. If you go on their website, they got over 200 travel websites that they own. That's Expedia. This is Expedia's world headquarters. They opened the doors to this facility back in March of 2020, which was not the best time to open the doors to your brand new building. They were all sent home pretty shortly after that, but they are back in full swing today. What's cool about this place is they actually have Wi-Fi routers in the rocks, so employees can come sit outside, enjoy the views of the bay and the sunshine, while also getting their work done. Now, right next door is Smith Cove. This is home to Piers 90 and 91. The first, of course, in numerical order is Pier 90. This is our fishing dock. We're just like our cruise ships. A lot of the ships coming in here are from Alaska. We actually have one fun vessel in here with us today, though. A smaller one, blue on the bottom, white on top. That's a National Geographic vessel. We have a cruise line called hangs out up here during the summer months, travels the inside passage up to Alaska around here, and then in wintertime we actually head all the way down to Costa Rica, go through the Panama Canal. So this boat's come a long ways to be here today. But normally there's fishing vessels parked here, like I mentioned. They bring with them Alaskan pollock from Alaska. It's that kind of flaky white fish. If you don't think you've eaten it, it doesn't sound familiar, you actually probably have consumed it. It's usually it's made in McDonald's fish fillet, fish sticks. If you ever feed your cat food, that's probably in there too. Hopefully you feed your cat. So the top 5 consumed fish in our market. Next door to Pier 90 has number Scope Pier 91. This is our second place that cruise ships come to dock. Fit 2 large vessels, as you can see. What's cool about this dock is vessels, once parked here, can connect right to shoulder power, which means they can turn off all their engines, generators, all that, and hook right up to our city's electrical grid. So it's a lot less disturbing to local wildlife, less noise in the water, a little bit cheaper for them as well. On this point here, you see Elliott Bay Marina. It's forest and white sailboat masts floating off there. It's probably our busiest marina here in Seattle. A whole lot of perks come with getting a slip here. We've got showers, laundry services, paddleboards for rent, and also an on-call dive. Drop your shoe or your phone or your wedding ring in the water, you can actually just call up the diver and come retrieve it for you. Now, as you're making our turn, we have a lovely view of the Olympic mountains off in the distance. Really pretty things back here, the colors. I'm sure flying to Seattle, kind of heard a bit about us being kind of a rainy place, right? It's not super true though. On average, you receive only about 34 inches per year of rain, which is a lot less than other cities in the U.S. like New York or Miami or Chicago. Those mountains over there, they do quite a bit for us weather-wise, it turns out. All the way over there, they receive 14 feet of rain every year. So a whole lot more than we do over in the city. We're actually considered a Mediterranean climate in downtown Seattle, as opposed to the peninsula, that whole rainforest over there. Very jungle. I'm sure you're noticing, as we are farther out in the bay, we've got a spectacular view of our city skyline in all of its glory. Off of our port side here. And great look at the Space Needle now, we're a little bit farther away in all its entirety. The Space Needle was also built for the World's Fair back in 1962. But unlike the Edgewater, they did finish building in time for the doors. On the day of the fair, they received and installed their last elevator about the day before the fair started. So they barely scraped by when they did make it. 605 feet tall, they've got a rotating observation deck, glass floors, stand and look at the city below you if you're brave enough. What's pretty cool about this structure in particular, despite that kind of thin, spindly shape, it's built to withstand a 9.1 magnitude earthquake. That means you receive earthquakes at a time in this region of the country are located. So our time of year probably the tallest building yet. The Columbia Center, that tall, sleek black building, all the way to the right, is 997 feet tall. Originally it was designed to be over 1,000 feet. We have a rule here in the city of Seattle. Buildings can't be built over 1,000 feet because we are located next to two major airports, SeaTac and Boeing Fields. It's a great shot of it right now in front of the city. One last building I want to point out to you guys. It's much shorter in height, but it's even more to the right of the Columbia Center. It's got that pyramid top. It's kind of like a white Crayola crayon. Smith Tower. Believe it or not, when Smith Tower opened its doors in 1914, it was the tallest building in our skyline. A lot has changed since then, as you can see. It's just a little baby building compared to everything else now. But Smith Tower does have a few things to check out still. They've got Prohibition-style windows. In that speakeasy is a washing chair. There's an old story about the washing chair. Sit in it and love. Very happy. So I sing those dry docks right now. And the way dry docks work is those walls on either side of the vessel, they're actually hollow. And they can be filled up with water and submerged. The vessel is guided in, secured in place with keel blocks. You map out the bottom of the boat to secure it perfectly in place, and then over the course of a few hours, that water is straightened back out, and it's left fully exposed to the air, so you can get a whole look at the bottom. That's actually where the term high and dry came from. Matter of fact, there's two vessels in the dry docks. We have the USS Kidd, the 100. It's named after Admiral Kidd, who was the first flag officer to die in the Pearl Harbor attacks. He died, they wanted a vessel after him, but his wife had one request, there was something special about it. He had the nickname Captain Kidd at school. Captain Kidd is also a famous pirate, so they decided to fly the Jolly Roger on that boat, skull and crossbones pirate flag. It's covered up right now by all that white plastic, all that scaffolding, but under all that is a pirate flag, believe me. And next door is also the Gabriel Giffords. It's a trimaran, kind of hard to see, it's all covered up right now. They go really, really fast. It's also a littoral combat ship. You can float in about 14 feet of water, so very stealthy, quick vessel. I don't know if you notice, along this nets here close to the water, we do have some friends lounging out in the sun here with us today. Some California sea lions basking in the warmth. These guys are very cute and cuddly, very sweet looking, but the thing about these guys is they are all losers of the California Beachmaster competition. They head down to California every year, bulk up, try to impress the ladies, and these guys did not find any ladies, so they had to come back up here. So this is the bachelor pad for these guys. They're bulking up on salmon, better hopes for next year, but they're still very cute. Now right across from us, coming up around 3 o'clock, is our fuel dock. Maximum Petroleum is a American flag flying up on there. Now, it's just like a gas station. Vessels like the one we're on right now, smaller boats, can pull right up, get their fuel, drive on their merry way. But bigger boats, like those cruise ships back there, container ships, those bulk carrier ships, they all need the fuel brought to them. They're too big to fit in here. The way we do this is with bunker barges. We've got a few of those floating here right now. It's going to be these low-lying black and yellow vessels. Bunker barges got their nicknames. Back when we were transporting coal as our main source of fuel, we stored bunkers on the vessels, so it was nicknamed bunker fuel, or just bunker for short. Even though we use oil today, we still call it bunker, that nickname stuff. These guys can't move around on their own. We actually need tugboats to move them for us. There's a few different companies of tugboats that operate here in the bay. You can see a Foss tugboat back there, and also a Crowley tug, this one right at the tip of the dock. Despite that kind of funky looking shape they got going on, they're very powerful, very maneuverable vessels. They can kind of tug and pull in every which way. So big container ships coming into the waterways here can actually just turn off all their own engines, and the tugboats guide them the rest of the way. Tugboats do a lot for us around here. They mostly move things from dock to dock, port to port. There are also seagoing tugs that can transport things across the open ocean all the way up to Alaska and Hawaii. We do have our Alaska Marine Lines right over there, the green and yellow vessel with all those containers stacked on top. You can see some trucks are on there too. Now, pretty much anything can go on these guys. I've seen people load parts of houses on these things, transport their whole lives across the ocean. Because obviously we don't have railroads that go across across the water, so these guys take things the rest of the way. We've got another bunker barge off at our 2 o'clock, sitting much higher up in the water here. You can see it's not as full of fuel. And there is another tugboat fitting snugly right in there. Fun fact, once a tugboat is secured into a vessel like this, it's considered one vessel by the Coast Guard, not 2 separate ones. Now this big chunk of land here, all these containers are stacked up on, you probably see that it's very flat, right? No hills over there. But over there, where I'm sure many of you have been walking around, it's very hilly, right? Lots of steep streets. Maybe your calves are kind of sore after these past few days of touring our downtown. So Harbor Island is actually man-made. This island right here, they brought in 24 million cubic yards of soil, plopped it right here in the middle of the Duwamish River. So they built their own island to meet their needs up until the moment. Split the Duwamish River in half. We're heading down the East Waterway right now. We passed the West Waterway, back by this dry docks over there. This is where a lot of our container ships come in, unloaded right down these waterways. This is where the tugboats come into play. They guide these massive vessels into our little waterways. You can see that black and yellow barrier stretched around this bunker barge here that keeps any fuel that may have spilled out, keeps it contained, cleaned up easily. We're passing now under the shadow of these massive cranes here. These are gantry cranes, otherwise known as ship-to-shore cranes. They're 400 feet tall. Constructed over in Shanghai and transported over the Pacific, just like we see them right now. Most of them got all the parts, built it at home, got it. It was all fully constructed, welded to the decks of carrier ships. To a big spring right here. This is what we use to load and unload our container ships. It's kind of like the world's largest game of claws. See that big claw hanging down in the middle there, and there's a glass box up at the top. That is where the longshoreman sits. That's the crane operator. These are all operated by people. The career as a longshoreman is pretty sought after. That's because the starting salary is over six figures, not over 6 figures. In 2015, there was an open position. For that one position, there were 15,000 sets of stairs on the back of the crane and having to interview in the glass box to make sure they're fully fit for the job. You can't be having any fear of heights up there. You're staring through your feet through the glass, operating the controls. So, pretty nice day for shorter working hours. These containers you see stacked up on Harbor Islands. Anywhere you go in the world, containers come in 25, 40, and 20-foot containers. So these are trucks, trains, big brick building off of our starboard side. Some green eyes looking back at us. Familiar siren's face. That is the one and only Starbucks World Headquarters. Right there, in front of your eyes. That is where all the fun drinks and pumpkin spice lattes and all that is thought up and planned out. We are home to the original Starbucks, but the original Starbucks burnt down, so you can't go there. But the second most original Starbucks is across the street from Pike Place Market, right downtown. But the average wait time for a coffee there is about 1 to 2 hours. There's always a line out the door, so what I'd recommend is probably heading wide, because it's cool. You can head a few minutes in any direction probably and go to another Starbucks with the exact same cup of coffee. So I would recommend doing that instead. You could also get your coffee and then go back to the original one, take a picture. No one's gonna know. We also have a lot of great local coffee shops here though. One I like to shout out is called Storyville. It's also across from Pike Place, but it's up a couple levels up so you can kind of spy on people visiting the market. The owners are also from Wisconsin, so you gotta shout them out. But needless to say, we do love our coffee here in Seattle. We are actually the most caffeinated city in the U.S. They have tested our sewer waters, and it came back very caffeinated. Even the fish are swimming in caffeinated water. We're coming up on our United States Coast Guard base. And we're getting a good look at a couple of vessels docked here right now. This has been the Coast Guard's base since the 60s. They're responsible for the entire Pacific Northwest coast, so they got a lot of area to cover, all of our coastlines here. We do have some pretty cool vessels in here with us today. We got the Alex Haley, named after the famous author who wrote Roots. And he also served with the Coast Guard for 20 years. This is a salvage vessel. And the big red one up top, up front, the number 10. That is an icebreaker vessel. So you can see that hull on the number 10 is a lot thicker, probably stronger looking than the number 39. See the difference between the two? So the number 10 is built to crush through icebergs way up north in the polar regions. These vessels are used for research. So they'll head up to the Arctic and some scientists with them. This vessel can go out for months at a time, so it's pretty cool that it's here with us right now and you can get a good look at it. time until a beast of a different kind came to town about 2 years ago. A smaller artist who may have heard of her, Taylor Swift. On her Eras tour, her and her army of Swifties, they shook it off so hard in 3 hours, 2 nights in a row, at a cost of 2.3 minutes per ticket. So I don't know if you know much about earthquake has actually double the amount of activity. So I'll let you decide who the real beast is. We've got a closer view of Smith Tower and the Columbia Center now. You can see it close. There's a penthouse actually on top of Smith Tower. And that pyramid top. We've got a great view into the stadiums. Hopefully they're into music, concerts and stuff, because I'm sure, hear it quite clearly up there. Rent is about $17,000 a month for that penthouse. Just below that is our Washington State Ferry dock, Coleman Dock. You can catch the ferry to Bainbridge Island or Bremerton. Go for about 35 minutes. It's cool. Both rides, I should say. What's cool about these vessels though is that they're double-ended. So unlike the one we're on right now, the wheelhouse, the captain inside right here, they've got 2 of those at either end. So instead of getting to the dock and turning around, they can just pull right up and leave the opposite direction. Now speaking of operating vessels, not only am I your narrator today, I'm also going to be your deck hand. I have to go tie up the boat. I don't want y'all swimming ashore in these cold, cold waters. But it's been a lovely hour hanging out with you guys in the sunshine. Nice and warm up here. And for those of you visiting Seattle, you have one for the rest of your time here. If you have any other questions, I'll be down at the dock to answer them. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for that wonderful tour. I hope everybody enjoyed it. She always does such a spectacular job for us. Today was certainly no exception. Beautiful day, wonderful tour. Can't really ask for much more, so I hope you enjoyed it. And as Hannah mentioned, she's not only our tour guide, but also our deckhand now, so she's going to get out and tie up the boat. Once we're all secure, she'll be down the ramp to say goodbye to all of you, so should you have any last minute questions or comments for her, you can certainly feel free to stop and chat on the way out the door. She's a wonderful resource for recommendations if you're looking for the next thing to do. If you have any questions about the tour, she'll be happy to answer those for you. And if you enjoyed her tour, please do let her know. I know Hannah works really hard at putting together a fun and informative tour, which is no easy task. Things are constantly changing here on the water. And to put together all that with having all the information and everything in a fun and cohesive way can be quite challenging. So she does a great job and makes it look pretty easy. So if you enjoyed it, let her know. And if you'd like to extend a token of your appreciation as you disembark, you can certainly feel free to do so as well. And again, she'll be down at the ramp, and that would be the appropriate time for that. Before you go, please take a look around, make sure you've got all of your belongings. You don't want to forget anything on board. And if you created any garbage at all, please help us keep our waterways clean by ensuring that it ends up in the proper bins. Down on the outer decks especially, garbage can blow into the water very easily. We don't do that. I'm going to set down the microphone as we make our final approach to our dock, and once we're all fast, I'll be back on the mic to let you know when it's safe to disembark.